Yeah, I mean, we obviously we incarcerate more than any country on the planet, so we can get that out of the way. And what if we were to invest in people rather than try to incarcerate our way out of stuff? But it's such a complicated thing. I wish we could go deeper as a society because we just nibble around the edges and everything is about something else, you know. So uh you know, obviously, you know, we punish people who are ill. I mean, it's crazy. Why would we do such a thing? The largest mental institution on the planet Earth is LA County Jail. Now, what does that tell us about how badly we're doing things? You know, so we don't see wound and we don't see damage and we don't see traumatized. Earlier, I mentioned the Adverse Childhood Experiences study, so I you know, recommend that you look it up. And you know, they say, experts say, that if you're a 4 or a 5, so it's 10 checkoff things, you know, parent was mentally ill, a parent addicted, I was sexually abused, I was physically abused, death of a parent or divorce or parent locked up. There are 10 things. If you're a 4 or a 5 on the ACEs, you are going to have health problems and socializing problems. I'm a 0 on the ACEs. But every man and woman who walks through our doors is a 9 or a 10 on the ACEs, which is astounding. Well, once you know the ACEs study, talk to me about sin, talk to me about evil, talk to me about choice or personal responsibility. Come on, give me your best shot. I mean, once you know that truth, it suddenly, you move beyond the mind you have. You go, wait a minute. So you have the narrative that says, you know, I had good parents and they taught me right. I wasn't raised that way. No, nonsense. It's all white privilege. You know, I won all the lotteries. Mental health, parents, zip code, education. I won every single lottery. Not because I'm morally superior to the folks I've been privileged to accompany. Quite the opposite. I never would have survived if I had been asked to carry what they've had to carry. So, and that just changes how you see things. Why would you punish wound? It doesn't make any sense. And so I'm kind of a different mind, like I'll try to take something that is less polarizing than January 6th or racism in our country, but take a thing like the rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans. And you can, maybe people will draw a straight line, and they'll say, if you call this the China virus, that will happen. But it's very similar in many ways to the rise in gang violence in Los Angeles County, because it's about despair. You can't be surprised, with a pandemic which has, basically exacerbated the despair among gang members. And so I'm not surprised by the rise in gang violence. But you ask yourself, so we live in the description of the place. It's racism and hate crimes, and I'm against that. That's the description of the place. But move to the place itself, which is get underneath. Who beats up an aged Chinese man in the streets of San Francisco? Who? A racist? No, that's descriptive. Who? Somebody who is not whole, is not healthy, is not well, is not stable, is not integrated. Someone who belongs to us did that. And there's the difference. So we're not, I mean, I don't know. That requires, you have to kind of get underneath. But moralizing has never helped us. Moralizing has never kept us moral. It's kept us from each other. And I was heartened the other day to hear the Surgeon General say, here's my emphasis, mental health. And I went, boy, good for you. That's bold. Because I think that's the whole thing right now. And I hate to go off on a thing, but Matthew Dowd, who's a journalist and a one-time Republican commentator or operative, he said, why did it take 100 years from Reconstruction to Emmett Till and civil rights and voting rights? Why did it take 100 years? He said, because a third of the country did not believe that all men and women are created equal. And then he says, why did it take 57 years from Martin Luther King to Trump and January 6th and Proud Boys and Charlottesville, all that? Why did it take? And then he says, because a third of the country don't believe that all men and women are created equal. Now, I personally believe he's correct, but that's the description of the place. Talk about the place itself. A third of the country aren't well. They're not whole. They're not healthy. They're not integrated. They're not stable. And what do? You care for, you welcome, you tend to, you heal. Do I have any doubt that that's how Jesus sees this? No. But the more it's sort of like, I'm against hate, I go, good luck. So when they shot up the Tree of Life synagogue of that man, whenever that was, a number of years ago, my alma mater, and God love them, they started a seminar the next week, and the name of the seminar was Hate. And it's because we're humans and we want to address things head on. But all that really does, it's just self-congratulatory. It just says we are against hate. But we'd make more progress if the seminar was called Health. And then it was like, none of us are well until all of us are well. And one last little tangent, I saw the other day a young woman wearing a t-shirt, and pardon my French, and it says, fuck cancer. And, Mark, you and I, we know this, and it's like, I've been through chemo and radiation and immunotherapy, and I don't get fuck cancer. What are you talking about? You treat it, you heal it, you care for it, the person who has it, you tend to the person who's suffering. That's what you do. And yet it's a curious kind of, what are you talking about? So, it's, we are against hate. I go, check in with me how that's going for you. Because it doesn't get underneath. It doesn't find the thorn underneath. And it demonizes, which is the opposite of God and the opposite of truth. Always. No exceptions. So when Mother Teresa says we belong to each other, and the problem is we've forgotten that, she was right. But does everyone belong? Even the guy who beat down that old Chinese man on the streets of San Francisco, he belongs to us. And none of us are well until all of us are well. And that's the kinship of God. No one is outside the circle of compassion.